And we are live with another episode of Comic Talk. It's that show brought to you by The Key, where we talk about this week's new comic book releases. For those of you who don't know, new comic books come out every Wednesday at your local comic shop. Go to comicshoplocator.com, find a comic shop near you. But Wednesdays are new comic book days, and we're here on a Thursday, February 27th, 2025, talk about everything that we could read in 24 hours. Hopefully, it runs the gamut of everything that came out this week. But it's humanly impossible. But we do the best we can, whether it's DC, Marvel, indie comics. We read as much as we can, and we talk about it on this show within 24 hours. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and we also got Drew Maxey, a.k.a. Drew Deficit, a.k.a. it's spelled Drew X Deficit, but the X is silent.
Hello, hello, hello.
How you doing today?
Oh, I'm all right, man. I've had a busy week. It's been rough, actually.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, comic books are amazing, and they come out every week. And it takes, it's a certain type of person that likes comics. I'm not saying what type of person. I'm just saying you are a type of person if you like comics. And it's an extra type of person that's reading it from their comic shops week after week, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this show is predicated on, is that ability to read as much as we can, even though we're grown-ass adults and we got other shit we got to do. But comics, like many loves of life, are a little frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, I will say the comics themselves have not been frustrating me.
No, I've been loving it. I've been loving it as a reader. As a reader, I've been loving it. But sorry, what were you saying?
Now, it's just everything else right now. It's like, got too much going on. I was sick yesterday. I woke up, I was just like, I was miserable.
I do not want to be sick. I can't afford to right now. I got big work stuff. So, good thing you're on that side of the screen.
Yeah.
Don't
worry, I'll get it to you.
Are you going to C2E2? You are.
I am, yeah.
What if I was like, you were like, yeah, I thought I was doing the game show with you. I was like, oh, no, you're not. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's still the plan, right?
You've been cut. No. You are part of it. I got to get you the link for Inside Baseball, how the sausage is made for anyone out there. We are going to be doing a game show at C2E2 which is the comic convention in Chicago that they have every year. And so Drew is part of the crew.
Yeah, I'm part of the crew. So, yeah.
So we're going to be there,
Yeah, I'll be there. I had a lot of fun last year. Last year was the first time that, I went every year for, the first 8 or 9 years of that convention. I did not miss a year. And then, 1 year it happened, and it happened to be, the same weekend that my band was recording. But I was also in Chicago at the same time. So, I was recording in Chicago. I just couldn't go to the convention. And then I snuck away and went to one of the after parties. But that was it. And then the year after that, I think was something else. I think I was doing something with my band that weekend. And then the year after that was COVID. And then 21, 22, 23, I just wasn't going.
Yeah.
And so I fell out of the rhythm. And last year, meeting up with you and Cody and Christian and Ben and Justin.
Yeah.
And then I met so many people there that last year. It was just oh yeah, this convention is super fun.
It was super fun, and it was cool meeting you in person, because it's funny doing the show month after month with you on this show, right? And not having met you, that's super weird. But
I'll tell you what,
the world we live in now, but
I'll tell you what, just because of the kind of person I am, I like dread meeting people in person a lot of the time. And it's mostly because like I've had the experience where once people kind of get to know me, they don't like me. I've had that so many times in my life.
Hmm.
And like every person that I met that weekend, who I interacted with online for a long time now, every person I met that weekend, like I didn't feel that at all. Like I felt like we all got along and it was great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, truth be told, like this isn't a. I mean, before you came on Comic Talk, like I was watching your stuff, right? And it's not like one of those relationships where I watch your TikToks, you watch my TikToks. Hey, let's meet up. But like, I feel like we've put a lot of friend hours into this show.
I agree.
You
Yeah.
know, there's a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
level of friendship there. Yeah, it's still online, but I feel like there's more of a. I could have sussed out whether I liked you or not
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
sooner,
Yeah. I get that. I get that.
But like,
So,
no, last
yeah.
year was cool, and this year is gonna be cool. And like actually, like getting it for free and producing something, uh, Friday will be cool. But yeah, you want to talk
Yeah.
about comics?
Let's do that.
Cool. Um, this was a pretty packed week for comic books. A lot of crazy titles came out this week. A lot of ones worth reading, and then I didn't get to read everything that I wanted to read. Um, but you want me to go first on my list, or you want to go on your list?
Go ahead.
Okay. Um, Ultimate. I read Ultimate Spider-Man 14, Absolute Wonder Woman 5, Amazing Spider-Man 68. Dot deaths. I have to talk about that and the titling and the numbering later because I talked about it in a previous episode, but I didn't really understand it until now. Superman 23, X-Men 12, Justice League Unlimited 4, Fantastic Four 29. Then I'm going through the list of everything that came out this week. Sabretooth, The Dead Don't Talk 3, uh, Nightclub 2, number 6, Magic Order 5, number 5. I think that's it.
Okay.
That's probably it.
We had some overlap, but not a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's good for the show.
Yeah. So I told you that I read Absolute Wonder Woman number 5. I did not.
What?
Uh,
That
I
was
was
like the
planning,
first one I read this week.
so this is the thing. I was planning to read it, and then I remembered that I didn't read number 4.
Mm,
So I went and read number 4, and then was going to read number 5, and I just ran out of time.
okay.
So it was either read that or eat dinner, and I decided that I would eat.
That's fair. I
Um,
I've barely eaten today. I get it.
I read Superman 23.
Mm-hmm.
I read Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, number 5.
Nice.
I read Detective Comics 1094. I read Black Canary Best of the Best number 4. I read Green Arrow 21, and then I read The Seasons number 2
Mm,
from Image Comics. And Marvel, IDW, those books all come to my comic shop from the Diamond, the distributor, and they didn't get them in time.
okay.
So all of my Marvel books and anything else besides DC and Image, I haven't picked up yet.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I do have to add, I did read Black Canary Best of the Best 4.
Okay.
Forgot. I gotta throw that in. But um, yeah, I mean, it's interesting how distributor stuff like messes things up. Um, you know, most people's lives don't depend on comics coming in on the day. Like,
Right.
if there is a snafu, there's a snafu. Most people, I mean, I would assume the shops are like, no, like I need to sell these, sure, but like, it's not a life or death situation, so it is what it is. And us talking about it on the show, it is what it is. You know.
Yeah.
But you read a good amount. Still.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had about like 4 or 5 other books that I didn't get to yet.
So then I'll ask you, what books, whether or not you got to pick them up or not, what books this week did you want to pick up slash read that you didn't get a chance to?
Um, I know Ultimate Spider-Man definitely would have been up there because I've really been enjoying that story. It's like my first real long time experience with
Uh-huh.
Spider-Man at all.
I just realized I can't talk about it now. Fuck.
Yeah, I know. I will say I'm also behind on that book too, so I need to get caught up. But
Okay.
I think the last issue that I read, what issue came out today? Or this
Ultimate Spider-Man 14.
14? I think the last issue I read was 11. Um, but yeah, and so like and also Ninja Turtle 7.
Mm,
That Jason Aaron run on Ninja Turtles I think has been great. And so I was really looking forward to reading that.
okay. Oh, I read Red Hulk 1. I did
Okay.
read that. I guess it was so forgettable I forgot I read it. I'll tell you the plot of that later. What did I want to read? I did want to read Detective Comics 1094, didn't get a chance. I wanted to read Ultimate X-Men 12, didn't get a chance. I wanted to read Green Arrow 21 and Green Lantern 20, the two greens.
I
Um,
also picked up Green Lantern and I haven't read it yet.
yeah. Um, I wanted to read The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween #5, but I didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to read The Flash 18. These are all books that like I would be on, but
Yeah.
for some reason I read Red Hulk #1. What am I gonna do? Hell Hunters 3. I wanted to do that. A new Blade came out. Helverine. These are all books that I like.
Yeah.
Um, Hornsby and Halo. It's Image Comics Ghost Machine title.
Okay.
It's kind of a cute little thing. Basically, two kids adopted on Earth. One's a demon and one's an angel, and
Okay.
like, but they don't know that they're
Who's the
devils.
creative team on that?
Um, let's see. It's Tomasi, Peter J. Tomasi,
Okay.
writing it, and then Peter
Oh
Snedberg
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
on art. So there's that. Um,
That's a good team.
yeah, I mean the book. I do like the book. Um, what's your pick of the week?
I think it's going to be I've actually been kind of going back and forth on that because I had one that I was like, oh, this is going to be it. And I read it and I really liked it, but then there was another one that kind of overtook it. And so think I think my pick of the week is going to be Detective 1094.
All right.
Yeah.
Um, was this the end of the story arc?
No,
Okay. Do you know how many issues are left?
I don't.
Does it end on a cliffhanger or
Yes.
whatever? Okay.
Yes.
What are you liking so much about this arc?
Honestly, honestly, I will say that the arc itself I've thought was fine, but nothing really like stood out to me. But and that's why I was surprised that this issue stood out to me so much.
Okay.
Um, is because like it felt like it was just like a pretty solid Batman story,
Yeah.
right? But this issue I thought was an exceptional Batman issue.
Okay.
Um, this issue mainly focuses on so like the last issue has uh Batman like confronting some kids and it ends on this cliffhanger moment
Mm-hmm.
where um like he it's like a building blows up and
Mm-hmm.
there's this kid and like the villain of the issue or the villain of this story arc comes in as like attacks the kid. So this picks up from there. And a lot of the issue is what I like about superhero comics, which is where they take a particular stance on things. And this shows a side of Batman that I feel like is always there, but it's not always highlighted, which is essentially him recognizing that like there is a difference between punishing criminals and and like actual justice.
Right. Because
Uh,
if I remember correctly, he like knocked a kid out. What happened in like that first issue of the arc? He like broke a kid in half or something.
I can't remember if I'm
Remember, and he
being
was like he like knocked him out, and then the kid ended up dying later. Something or
yeah,
like
something like that. Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah. Basically, he
But
was too rough.
and so like this one is this issue is about him like recognizing like this kid who he confronted in the last issue
Hmm.
um isn't exactly like a criminal because he wants to be. It's just kind of like that that's the path that was set out for him,
Yeah.
and it's kind of just how it works for him, you know. And he sends uh Robin undercover into a juvenile detention facility.
Is it Damien?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and they get to do some really like, I mean, it's even though, you know, this is like it is about some more actiony stuff. There's some real detective stuff here. So it's like living up to the title of the book. Where you know they're doing some investigating and there like I said there's like the undercover element to it.
Mm.
I really liked it. I thought that it was a good representation of what a modern Batman should be.
Okay. Nice. I didn't get to read this one, but I am up to date except for this issue.
Yeah.
Um, and I've loved the art and
I
the story.
yeah
I'm hoping is going in a good direction.
yeah
But
yeah yeah. I think that this issue is where it finds its voice. Um, I think that Tom Taylor is like a good writer.
mhm.
Um, and it seemed like he found his voice for Nightwing very early on. And I feel like it took him a little bit to get like what his Batman story was going to be.
Okay, I like Tom Taylor,
I
so
just think, yeah,
I'm
I
with
think
it.
he's really good.
Okay. Um, I didn't get to read that one, so fair. I got to jump on that one. Um, Here's a question: you didn't get to read Ultimate Spider-Man 14 or Absolute Wonder Woman 5, which means no spoilers to either one, right?
Sure.
Okay, I won't spoil it then.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about Absolute Wonder Woman 5. Um, it's good. What I
Yeah.
mean, what can I say? There's something big that happens. Also, there's some like cool flashbacks. Obviously, like I think this series, actually, all three of the Absolute series, like the flashbacks really matter.
Yeah.
Um, but I think when it comes to the flashbacks, I don't care so much about Absolute Batman's flashbacks. Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman's flashbacks have been pretty cool, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, is this my pick of the week? No, but almost. I mean, I like Ultimate Spider-Man 14, which I also
That's
can't talk about.
yeah.
This had me on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Okay.
The art is amazing. Um, what can I say? Uh, all I can say, this is not really a spoiler. You know the female Black Cat.
Mhm.
Okay, um, she's 16,
Okay.
and I just feel like when they introduced this character, like nobody knew, because like in comic art, you can't tell how old they are. I feel like it's kind of a weird backpedal, because like Black Cat is supposed to be, Felicia Hardy is what she is, right?
Right.
And I feel like they should have, for the benefit of the story and everything, like just said like she was like a high schooler. I just feel like a lot of guys out there are going to be creepy,
Okay.
because adult Black Cat is one thing. This is like kid Black Cat, which is great. but I also think that I'm also not trying not to spoil anything. Jeez, Louise.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've put you in a pickle here.
Yeah. So, I do like Felicia Hardy in this. She's cool. There's a couple other characters that are cool as well, and there Peter Parker is in it.
Is this, I mean, the last I read of Ultimate Spider-Man, it was like there were tensions brewing between Peter and Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Peter was trying out his new suit.
Okay.
Um, I mean, is this
Do you
still?
have questions?
I'm
You don't
just.
want answers.
No, it's more so just like I'm trying to. Is this continuing like that same arc? Um,
What was the last issue you read?
I think 11. 11, 12. I can't remember.
Wait, 12 ends with a big shocker.
Was
Not no pun
12
intended.
was 12 the Christmas one?
Yes.
I think I read that.
And you read the end, that last panel.
I can't remember.
You know how in the Christmas one Peter doesn't say much?
I can't remember if I've read that or if I just saw the cover.
Okay. So then definitely can't spoil it. But 12 is huge. 12 is a huge twist, and then 13 and 14 are
Okay.
the ramifications of that.
I
So,
need to read him.
all right, well, way to
I
go.
know I'm putting a damper on your show here.
It's okay. I mean, I'll put a clip of this and it just shows how funny it is to try to keep my mouth shut. But okay, what's another book that you read that you want to talk about?
Let's see. I've really been liking Green Arrow.
I didn't read this one, but you can talk about it. It's
Well,
okay.
so uh
I read the
the
one before it, but I didn't get to read this one.
the current story arc of Green Arrow is kind of about like it's been accidentally very like on very like poignant with what's been happening in the news the last few months in the United
Mm-hmm.
States.
Have we
Um
talked about this?
no,
Okay,
no.
continue though.
And so like yeah, it's like there is it's kind of centered around like a person has murdered like the head of a big company. And they Green Arrow is like, yeah, it's wrong, but like I kind of get it because this it was like a chemical company that has been like poisoning people with their careless with just how much they don't care about what they're doing to the environment.
Yeah,
And so like this issue continues that. It provides some more answers, including something that maybe I didn't know. I can't tell if I was just not very smart
okay.
and didn't put it together, or if it was supposed to be kind of a reveal in this issue.
Which is
Uh,
what?
in that, like so we've been seeing like families dealing with the effects of this like chemical company.
Yeah,
Um, kind of concurrently as like the Green Arrow story is going on.
yeah.
Well, in this issue, we find out that that's actually flashback. That is not happening at the same time. This has actually happened in the past.
Yeah, no, I thought we knew that in the because all he was saying that the company that had this problem was back when back in the day, and then Ollie was president of the company because they
Okay,
acquired
yeah.
Queen Industries acquired them for a split second before
So
not.
in my head, like when I was reading it, for some reason, I was not putting together. Like I was thinking that like the stuff that we were seeing about like the little boy getting sick in the first or second issue of this arc,
Mm.
like having the seizure, that was happening at the same time, and then all the stuff he was talking about did happen in the past. But now I've fully put together that stuff is in the past. And yeah, and he was the president of this company at one point. Um, and so that comes back to bite him in the ass in this issue.
Okay. All right. I forget what the killer is called. It's called like the something
The freshwater killer.
freshwater killer. So here's the funny what did I talk about? It was on a previous issue. Have you been reading Batman Dark Patterns?
I've read the first two issues. I haven't read the third.
So Batman Dark Patterns is literally very similar plotline.
Mhm.
It's people, uh you know, uh being poisoned by X, Y, or Z, going for revenge against X, Y, or Z. So I just think that it's interesting that DC is putting out two comics like that at the same time.
I think that it is, I think it is interesting that they're doing it. I think it is more interesting that it is happening at all. Because if there's one thing that I love about superhero comics, it's the way that they can like reflect the feelings of the culture in which they are created.
Yeah, the
And
zeitgeist.
yeah,
There's a
and
literal word for it.
yeah,
Yeah,
that is it's really interesting to see.
yeah. Um, that was Green Arrow 21. I love it. Let's hop over to Black Canary, the best of the best four, because like you all see Green Arrow in this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, I don't think this is a Black Label book, right? It's just a
It is
DC.
not. It is not, but it feels out of continuity.
Why? What is your big thing with it? Why it would
It
be out of continuity?
it just feels so self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if it's necessarily supposed to be out of continuity. I really don't care either way. I'm not a stickler for continuity. That stuff doesn't bother me. Um, and I know that that is often a criticism of Tom King that like, oh, it doesn't like his writing doesn't fit within the framework, you know, and I'm just like, I don't care. If it's a good story, it's a good story.
I agree. If it's a good story, it's a good story. Then just put it on Black Label. But like, I need to know what's canon, what's not, personally. For
Yeah.
instance, and I'll tell you why in this. The big thing about why this book seems like it's out of continuity is essentially the first Black Canary is sort of abusive to her daughter
Hmm.
in a like, you have to be the best of the best, and I'm going to abuse you and neglect you until it makes you superhero
Yeah.
in superhero shape, right? And I feel like that's a big thing to do to a character's like history. So if it is canon, then we just have to assume that like, yeah, her mom when she was on the JSA or wherever was just always kind of an abusive kind of person.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, that changes the character. Now the specific on, is it in continuity if Black Canary and Shiva have a fight on national TV or pay per view or whatever? Like that part can come and go. Like it doesn't really matter if that is in continuity, but the character changes. You would have to know, right?
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree.
Is it because we don't deal with the first Black Canary that often, her mom? So it really doesn't really matter.
I think that first of all, I just think that superhero characters who have been around for a long time are so malleable that they can fit whatever you need them to. And if you don't like it, you can just ignore it. I've always felt that way. Because like I don't know everything about Captain America. I know the things that I know and the things I like, and I know that there's a ton of stuff that isn't going to like if I do know it, will it change the way that I feel about the character? Probably not.
Hmm.
Uh,
I
so,
have I have okay, continue because I'll
but
throw some at you.
I always say it. There's also, I mean, there's, I think these characters are super malleable. I think there are things that need to stay, but for the most part, you can change just about anything to fit the story that you're telling. On, I also think that um, perspective and point of view are things that are not always considered by but by people who read comics. And so we may not necessarily like we may view it as like, oh, uh, it's crazy that Tom King is making uh, Dinah Lance be this way to his daughter or to her daughter, when it could maybe just be this is how, uh,
She's remembering it.
yeah, this is how she viewed it, stuff like that. And I know that that's kind of a cop out answer, but I
Kind of
also
a
think
cop out answer. What if
I
Detective Comics 1094 that you're reading right now was all a dream?
but it's not the same thing. That's not
Okay.
the same thing.
Okay. Does it matter? Does it not? Here's the thing. I'll put a good example for you. And I'm a big continuity person. I'm not so dedicated on whether they change a character or not. I just need to know if those changes matter or not. That's it. Like, you can make those changes because that's your prerogative as a writer, as a company. You can change these characters and tell me some weird retcon. And I'm one of the people that are like, I'm not going to fight the retcon. It is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do? You know? Like, it is now canon. But I need to know that. So, you read Identity Crisis?
Yes.
And in Identity Crisis, they essentially retcon a lot of things, but they
Mhm.
retcon that Dr. Light is an SAer, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. And I'm sure
Yeah.
some people liked it and some people didn't, and whatever. I don't care. I think it adds to this menace of a character. Um, it does take a couple of hoops to jump through, but they do kind of explain it that like when he got mind wiped, he became a simpler person. Then
Mhm.
the Teen Titans can beat him up, whereas he used to be much more menacing and whatever. But he went too far. He got mind wiped, so on and so forth. And then later, when they hunt him down, they hunt him down with that knowledge because he's people are getting their memories back. Um, that big change to a character, I would need to know that that's canon, and that is canon, right? Because that puts into perspective all the other Dr. Light stories or him fighting the Titans or whatever. Like, it matters, you know? Like something that big. Like, if I read a story
I
that
just
has. What's
I
that?
disagree. I disagree with that. I think that if you went your whole life and you never read Identity Crisis
Yeah,
and you just never had that perspective,
right,
your understanding of Dr. Light would not change at all.
right.
So,
But I have read it.
so
Thus,
now,
my perspective going forward is if you show a flashback scene, like it will fall in line with that.
yes, but a flashback scene, which means that it was written after that retcon happened,
Yeah,
means that it's written with that context in mind. But if you
right.
go back and read something before, then it does what you learned in Identity Crisis affect that scene? Maybe, but for the most part, it's not going to. So I don't know. I just don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm
It
not
is it
reading.
is it is impossible in order for continuity to make sense. It is impossible. You would have to read everything, and that's impossible. So
Mm.
continuity, it comes back to the 6 degrees of Saint Elsewhere, the theory that
Oh yeah, yeah. That everything's connected under, which I don't agree with, but you know.
which was Dwayne McDuffie came up with that to point out why hard continuity is boring.
Well, yeah, yeah, but I'm not so beholden to that. I mean, part of that theory that like because Saint Elsewhere is in the mind of a child, that anything that happened in the show at any time that those characters appeared on other shows means that those shows are also in the mind of a child. It's flawed logic. So if we're going that route, like people also loop in the fact that like if X-Files the characters appeared on The Simpsons, that means that Springfield exists in the world of X-Files. It doesn't work that way. If we just kind of take it as a multiverse, the X-Files do exist in The Simpsons, doesn't mean The Simpsons exist in X-Files.
So then what's the difference between what you're saying now
Yeah, I just need to
and
know: is it a multiverse? Or is it not? You know. So, for example, I'll one of my favorite books growing up was JLA Year One by Mark Waid,
Mhm.
and it has Dinah Lance is a big part of that, right? As the starting five, um, and I'm not going back to that and thinking, oh, her mother was abusive. No, 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 that's not the case. But from this point on, don't act like she wasn't abusive, right? So we got like these little things I need to know, if down the line someone's like, oh yeah, Black Canary and Shiva have never fought, then it's like, no, you did on national TV. Like, get your shit straight, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I need to know. Just I don't. It's not. I'm not arguing whether it should count or shouldn't count. I'm not putting a value
Sure.
judgment on that. I am just asking, does it count?
Well, I think, I mean, I guess unless you have some reason to believe otherwise, you should just assume that it does.
Yeah, yeah, which I'm fine with. It just seems like a Black Label book because that was a big deal, right? Like it was
Yeah,
kind of a
I mean,
big shit
I
thing.
get that. Yeah.
Um, but Identity Crisis, same thing, right? If Identity Crisis was Black Label, you would just. I think if Identity Crisis was Black Label, I think it would be it would lessen the impact of the story.
Possibly. Yeah.
I think that the whole point of like doing something big like Identity Crisis is the fact that it needs to matter. But imagine if it was just a mini series that was just a sort of Elseworlds. I don't think it would matter. Anyone can write something out of continuity because there's not anyone can write. That's not what I'm saying. But like parameter wise, there's no parameters. You just kind of do whatever you want. You know? You can make Superman weak against carrots. And like that's an Elseworlds book.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
That's my opinion about continuity. That's
I
just
just
me.
really don't. I don't have a. So like I'm kind of two minds of that. I say all that. And then I also recognize that like Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run only works because of like it works. I guess I shouldn't say only works, but like it works so well because he is a stickler to continuity.
Yeah.
And so like there I am of two minds of it, but for the most part I'm just kind of like tell me a good story. We'll treat them like if you read the Odyssey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Assuming that I've never read the Odyssey.
you read the
I've
Odyssey.
never read the Odyssey. I've seen the Wishbone episode where Wishbone dresses up like
Well,
Odysseus.
so let's say you go and read the Odyssey,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you also read like the story of like a story about Hercules.
Okay, yeah.
At any point, does it matter that you're like, oh, I gotta know, are these the same on the same timeline?
Uh that's funny you bring that up as a fan of Greek mythology, actually. I understand that there are different because it's been kind of like historical retellings of it. I understand that they're all going to be like different and they're not going to line up completely, especially when it comes to like Greek and Roman mythology. Like they're a little bit different,
Yeah.
or the different eras of Egyptian mythology. But I mean, I take it. I take it as is. But I also think that like a lot of those mythology stuff, they exist like adaptations are huge for them and how you choose
Right.
to adapt it. Kind of like a Shakespeare play. It's like, okay, there are the original plays, but like how you choose to adapt it makes like all the difference and matters that much more. So, would I love a Greek mythology shared cinematic universe, yes. And I would like those to plug in well with each other. But if you take three random Greek mythology movies, Clash of the Titans, Disney's Hercules, and um, Dwayne the Rock Johnson's Hercules, like
Yeah.
they're not going to match up, and that's okay because
Sure.
I know that, you know. But I just need to know if it matches up. Marvel's Blood Hunt crossover event, I did like it a lot. I don't think it would matter if it was a Marvel What If, because I would not care. On the flip side, the way DC did DC versus vampires, I love that because that's its own continuity, and the way they did it was amazing. So it just depends. I think it's different. What I want from an like out of continuity book is different than what I want out of a in continuity book. So I need to know which one it is so I know what to expect or what I want from it.
I get it.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm not swayed.
Okay. Fair. I need it. I'm not saying it just generally speaking like everybody needs it. I need to know. That's me.
We
For
talked a
example,
lot.
for
We
example,
talked a
yeah.
we talked a lot about this book
Yeah.
without actually talking about this book.
Which book are we talking about? Oh,
Black
Black
Canary.
Canary. Yes, let's talk about it. I was gonna say that Green Arrow, I thought it was cool, like the flashback stuff. And again, the sort of retcons that they do in this, I do like. She like Dinah trains Oliver after he's just come back from the island because Oliver knows Wildcat.
Hmm.
But the only question I had was Wildcat says she's his teacher.
Yes.
How does that make sense?
I
I thought Wildcat trained everybody. And it's no
yeah.
slight against Dinah. Dinah could learn from Wildcat and then become better than Wildcat, and that's fine. I don't understand how she is his teacher.
I don't know if that's supposed to be like a kind of a him saying like, she teaches me more than I teach her kind
Yeah,
of thing.
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Um, which I think maybe that's kind of what it was supposed to be. I also really don't know.
Unless they're retconning that she trained with the League of Assassins
Yeah.
like Shiva did, because there is a link there. Are you familiar with the new character that they introduced? And they very sparingly, Angel Breaker.
That sounds so familiar,
She
but I
has
can't
like
remember.
red goggles and a big sword and a black kind of suit with like blonde
Oh, let
hair.
me let me Google that.
She first appeared, I think, in I forget where she first appeared in, but like she appears here and there and everything. She's in the new Batgirl title.
Okay.
Um, and Shiva's in that, right? And so Angel Breaker and Dinah know each other and they do fight and they have a history. So I'm wondering if they're trying to work in the fact that like Dinah trained with the League of Assassins and then much like Bruce kind of did, right? And Dinah did that and then brought that training back to Ted Grant, aka Wildcat, and trained him in some of that. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that will be something that gets answered,
Eh,
but
who's to say? Are you like this book though?
I do, yeah. I've been enjoying it. I think it's a really interesting exercise in a superhero book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think it's a fun kind of like it seems like it's just an exercise in structure,
Mm,
and I kind of like that.
okay. Um, let's see. Uh, Amazing Spider-Man 68. You did not read, right?
I have read like maybe two issues of Amazing Spider-Man ever, and it was like 10 years ago.
Are you not a Spider-Man fan?
I've always had a blind spot for Spider-Man comics. I don't know why.
Because they can get convoluted, and like the adaptations of Spider-Man almost do a better job with the Spider-Man mythos because they streamline everything.
Yeah.
Kind of X-Men kind of does that too. X-Men and Spider-Man, because they have always have so many stories. I get it. I'm trying to uh this new run, somebody brought up, oh, I did set it up right. Somebody brought up that in this new so okay, how do I put this? In the last episode that like last week's, you weren't on this one, but I mentioned that like some of these issues are dot death, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Basically, this was issue 68 dot death. Last week's issue was 68. And so the dot deaths are like one shots
Hmm.
because it's coming out every week. It's like one shots to kind of like pad the story a little bit to like. So this one shot was Juggernaut focused. The last dot death, because it's dot death because of 8 deaths of Spider-Man's going on right now,
Right, 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 right.
was a Phil Coulson kind of tie-in flashback. And
Okay.
so this issue, Spider-Man didn't appear once. And it's all Juggernaut. And somebody online joked, write for the job that you want, not for the job that you have. And that, like, they were essentially saying that, like, this was an X-Men issue.
Okay.
And it was like, oh, the writer is just not writing for Spider-Man. He wrote an X-Men issue, and that's what this is. And I loved this one.
All right.
Um,
I like that.
do you know anything about Juggernaut?
Uh, Just that his name is Kane Marco, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I know that he used to be, or maybe still is, Xavier's half brother.
Stepbrother, but yeah.
Stepbrother, okay.
Sometimes they say half brother, I think in the cartoon maybe, but like he's a stepbrother.
Okay. And yeah, he got his powers from like a jewel.
Yeah, the gem of Sidorak. And so
Yeah.
essentially the gem of Sidorak's a big old demon god, and this premise of Spider-Man right now is Spider-Man's fighting the demon god or the children of the demon god in because Doctor Strange used to do it, but Doctor Strange isn't Sorcerer Supreme right now. Doctor Doom is, and Doctor Doom doesn't want to deal with it, so he gives it to Spider-Man to deal with. And so this episode or this issue is about Juggernaut being like going through like he's essentially talking through the fact that like he used to be a villain and now he's not, and he won't succumb to the pressures of Sidorak, and he has friends now, and that makes all the difference. And like it was just kind of a sweet Juggernaut focused issue. I liked it. Makes me want to like I was reading it out loud to kind of like feel what the character like I want to read it out loud, and I want to put music behind it because like
Yeah.
I don't
You know
know.
what? I read a lot of my comics out loud.
Oh yeah,
I
with
do that
voices and
often.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I got like a Batman voice that I do. I got
yeah.
a Superman voice.
Okay.
Um, I try to like figure out the voices for a lot of the characters just because I think it makes uh I think it makes the dialogue make more sense sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
when you can actually hear how it's supposed to be like said, you know?
Yeah. All right. For the sake of time, let's go through the rest of the books that we have because
Okay.
I know that we got a couple more. Um. Let's see. Did you read Justice League Unlimited #4?
I did not. I'm behind on that book, and it was just one that I couldn't get caught up on.
This one was really good. Like
Yeah.
a lot happened in this one. Like the previous issue, not so much. Issue #2 wasn't like issue 1 was good. Issue 4 is amazing. So
Yeah, I liked issue one. I think that I read issue two.
there was
Issue
one
two
issue that I was like, whatever about.
was issue two the one that kind of had the Martian Manhunter moment?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I read that. And then yeah, I guess I'm behind. I didn't read three, and so now I need to read four.
Mm. I love the fact that like Wade is writing this, Dan Mora's on it, right? And like first thing, great duo. But also Wade knows everything about all these heroes. And
Yeah.
so he is pulling from corners of the DC universe that I never knew existed. Like, did you know Alec Holland has a daughter? Swamp Thing or Man Thing? Swamp Thing?
One thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a part of the Scott Snyder Swamp Thing run.
Okay. See, I didn't know.
But I
So
can't, I honestly, I would have forgotten that if, after. But like, no, yeah, no, 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 no. Yeah,
her
he is
name's
a,
like Teef or Teffy or something.
yeah. No, I think that that comes from, after Alan Moore wrote Swamp Thing, Nancy Collins took over for a little bit.
Okay.
And I think that comes from Nancy Collins' run.
Okay. Well, either
Because
way, I didn't. I'm not a
she was
big fan of
referenced
it.
in she was referenced in Green Hell, which was the Black Label book that Jeff Lemire did.
Okay. Um. Anyway, she may or may not appear in this issue, so
Okay.
whatever.
All right.
A lot of deep cut characters in this, but all of them are really cool. And also, I like a nice Batman. Batman
Yeah.
doesn't have to be an asshole to everybody. He has a moment with Martian Manhunter that I think is cool. Um, you didn't read any Marvel, right? Because
No, yeah, my
all
shop
right.
didn't get any.
Fantastic Four 29 is like a one shot essentially because everything is one world under Doom right now, and essentially they're just trying to raise their kids in a world that like Doom has taken over essentially, and
Yeah.
they mentioned that like each day becomes easier to accept the fact that like Doom won, and so there is a really sad moment though. Basically, Doom hates vampires, so the whole world hates vampires, and there's a family of vampires that are like, we ate like someone's like they ate a pigeon, and like this family is just like we have nothing to eat, like we can't like how like we need to survive, but like we can't figure this out. And instead of helping them, right, like the mob comes to like to attack them, and the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, or at least Sue, Ben, and She-Hulk, stand in the way. But then a vigilante comes in and then kills the mom and the dad of the two vampire kids, and then the two vampire kids are left alone, and they have to figure out what to do with these two kids. I don't want to spoil it, but it was good.
Yeah. Is that still Ryan North writing?
Yeah, it's also also very of the zeitgeist, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you read
I saw an
this
image
one,
from
I
it.
think you'd like it.
I saw an image from it that I know what you're talking about with the of the zeitgeist.
Was it the house?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's the final panel.
Oh, okay.
That's the final panel of the issue. Is just that house. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So interesting. Uh, is that? Oh, you read? Did you read Superman's 23?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Again, is this Wade and Mora? How are they doing two books at once?
This is Williamson and Mora.
Okay, it's Will. Okay, but Mora is doing two books.
Yeah.
That's like that's impossible.
I mean, they must have either had a lot in the can
Yeah, they
before,
have to.
or he's just a machine.
He can't. You only have so many days in the, you do you. I mean, unless he did it fast. Like, was it Kirby? Was it Jack Kirby who used to do it real fast?
Hmm.
Um, you're supposed to work on it essentially like a page a day, right? Like
Yeah.
a page is 8 hours of work. So if you're doing and a page a day allows you to do one comic a month. Um, unless you're working crazy overtime.
I mean, maybe he is. I don't know. Like I said,
It's
he
not
might just be.
sloppy though. It is.
No, it's so clean every time. Like his artwork is fantastic. And yeah, I mean, it just
Did you like this issue?
I did. Um, it sometimes in comics, it's like superhero comics, when they're divided up into, the monthly issues, when you get to the very end of a story arc, it feels very rushed. And I did kind of get that feeling from this one.
Yeah.
Uh, which I don't know if this is really the end of the story arc, but it felt like it to me.
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, I did have that feeling. It was trying to tie up a lot of stuff. But it did do I mean, it made this arc has been making me enjoy Doomsday, which is damn near impossible because I
Yeah.
just don't care about Doomsday at all. Um, and yeah, it's been I've been enjoying that aspect of it. I like the Superwoman stuff. I've thought that this is, I've seen that concept has been done several times. And this is the first time outside of Grant Morrison's All-Star
Oh, yeah, I
Superman
was about to
that
say,
I've
yeah.
just been like, oh no, this is like actually cool.
Yeah. And it's funny because Lana Lang also has powers too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She's also Superwoman, right? I don't know what she's
Uh,
called. What's she called?
I've only seen people. I've just noticed that they call her name,
Oh, okay.
but she's got to have a different name, right? Like a superhero name.
Maybe. I don't know. Um, I like this issue. The art is amazing. It does seem a little rushed, but it was what it was. I'm not a big Doomsday fan either, so I feel like we had the same taste there.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It depends on how you use him.
Yeah. Was that all the books you read?
One last. Well, there was the Long Halloween,
Ah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and yeah, there was that, and then there was the seasons.
Mm,
I don't have much to say about this Long Halloween issue. I have really been enjoying this series, but this was the first issue that didn't I didn't finish it and go, damn, that was a good issue.
yeah,
If I'm being honest.
yeah.
I don't have much to say. Like it's not like ruining the story or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't the most standout for me.
Okay.
But the seasons I think is awesome, and I think that more people should be reading it. I don't know how many people are, but it's
What's the
awesome.
publisher?
It's Image. It's Rick Remender, and then the artist is I don't know how to say his last name, but Paul Azaceta. Um, I almost just got hit with a sneeze.
The
Uh, but
Sneezins.
um, the the basic premise of it is it's Rick Remender wishing that I mean he's straight up called it out in the first issue. He always if you've ever read one of his Image books, in the back he always puts like a hey, this is what I was doing when I was writing this, kind
Mm,
of this is how this book came to be.
yeah,
This is what I pulled my influences from. It's he pretty much straight up says, this is me doing my version of Studio Ghibli. And it is like Rick Remender is he's an edgy guy, right? Like he's an edgy Gen X dude who grew up in the punk scene. And so he can do Deadly Class, which is a story about like child assassins doing drugs and like cutting off heads and stuff like that.
right.
And he can do that really badass X-Force run where in like one issue, Deadpool is cutting off pieces of himself and feeding it to Angel so that he can heal.
Yeah.
Uh, and he can do the scumbag, which is lives up to its name. It's about a scumbag.
Okay.
But this book, it's so much fun. It's so colorful. It's there's nothing in it so far that immediately feels very adult. Like it feels like an all ages book. but it doesn't feel like it was written by somebody else. It feels like him. And I think that that versatility is such a good like token of his talent. The fact that he can do this, like the first issue of the seasons was literally just so like the story is it's about four sisters,
Mm-hmm.
autumn, spring, summer, and winter.
Mm-hmm.
And their names are their last name is Seasons, and each one of them is like a different age, and they are all doing different things. Like Autumn is a painter, and Summer is like a movie star.
Mm-hmm.
And the first issue is literally just about Spring as she runs through this very busy, colorful town, chasing a letter that like she's the mail carrier in this town, and she's chasing the letter that is addressed to her. And every time she tries to grab it, something makes it move further. And that's the whole issue.
Uh-huh.
And but like it's so fun. And then this issue, you actually get to see the other sisters for the first time. Um, it's kind of like the plot is kicking into motion that there's this like parade that is coming to town, and they aren't supposed to be at it,
Mm-hmm.
but something is conspiring to get them to be at the parade.
Huh.
uh, it's I mean it's like it's so whimsical. It is a whimsical book, and it's awesome.
I might check it out. I think I wait on your guys' like recommendations, the guests, right?
Yeah.
For some of these books, and I'm like, all right, cool. Now I know 2 issues in that you like it, so it's at least you've at least stuck with it for 2 issues. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Okay,
Yeah, I think it's worth it. It's awesome.
all right. Real quick, I mean, just some other things that you know, actually, I think it's only one book that. Oh no, two. Red Hulk #1.
Mhm.
It's also a tie-in to One World Under Doom. Doom essentially has Thunderbolt Ross in prison, and I don't know. I don't know how much of this was essentially a dream and how much wasn't, but you know, it has a lot of variant covers, which makes me think that Marvel is like, oh, Red Hulk is gonna sell a lot of books, but it is pretty action packed. It's just I don't know. I need to wait till season or issue 2 to figure out whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
But what I did like was X-Men #12. I think this is the final book on our roster. X-Men #12 is almost well. It starts off as an Alpha Flight sort of flashback, and then Alpha Flight comes in to help the X-Men. And I gotta say, this was a sort of return to form in a way that like made me feel like it was an X-Men book, and so it was
Okay.
nice,
All right.
you know. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the books that we read this week.
That was
Uh,
it. Yeah.
for anyone out there who wants to find you, Drew, where can they find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
Let's see. You find me on the internet. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky as Drew X Deficit. Um, I've really been not posting a lot of comic stuff lately. I need to I don't know. I need to find the spark again, as they say. But I got a new band that has been playing some shows. We just got back from uh, Illinois, Tennessee, and Little Rock, Arkansas
Nice.
um, last weekend. We're coming to some more places around the Midwest in May. The band is called Like Heaven. We have a record titled Hope in Hell, which will be coming out sometime later this year. That's as much as I know from War Records out of Los Angeles. So
All right.
that's it.
All
That's
right.
find me a C2E2.
Cool. For anyone who wants to find me specifically, individually, this is Dimitri on Instagram. But if you want to find Comic Talk and the rest of the Keeg shows, or the Keeg in general, you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at The Keeg Show. YouTube.com/The Keeg Show, Twitch.tv/The Keeg Show. If you're watching us live, that's where you're watching us on YouTube or Twitch. Or maybe you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. That's like Apple Podcasts, Google Play. No, not Google Play anymore. That doesn't exist. Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, that sort of thing. We're on all those platforms, so find us there. Whether you're watching us live or whether you're listening to us, digest us however way you want. But let us know you're out there. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, write a review, do your thing. Let us know you're out there. Let us know you're out there listening. But yes, at The Keeg Show on TikTok and Instagram and on, other social media apps as well. We're all over the place. So, definitely find us there. Go to comicshoplocator.com. Find a comic shop near you, one that you vibe with, one that you connect with, one that you can pick up any of the comics that we talked about at. You can find that at your local comic shop. Also, support your local public libraries. A lot of things you guys should be doing. Us, you guys, everybody. Supporting your local public libraries is a big thing, and it doesn't take much. Just go there and get a library card. That's all you got to do. That's the first step, That's pretty much it. But yes, we're going to be at C2E2 in Chicago, April 3rd to 5th. On April 3rd, we're going to be doing a game show. It's called Geek King Out. We're going to be doing that live there, so stay tuned for more information. That's pretty much it. Thank you, Drew, so much for coming on here and chatting.
Thanks for having me. It's been a while since I've been on.
Has it been a while?
I think the last time I was on was December.
Oh, so you missed January.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I'm glad to have you back. So thanks for coming back.
Cool. Glad to be here.
For everybody else, thank you guys so much. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been Comic Talk for the week of February 27th, 2025. Take care, everybody. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye.